Okay, please state your name.
Eduardo Macias.
Alright, perfect. And I'm Mara Santiago, and we will be asking you a couple questions for my sociology class. Alright, so please describe a single group that you have had an empathy wall. So an empathy wall is a barrier that prevents you from understanding and have compassion for those who are different. So an example of this is like, so let's say my family has an idea of a certain group of people. So let's say, because we're Puerto Rican, we have a certain idea of Cubans, and like we don't like to associate them because like you and your family have known them to be like a certain way that you don't like and that or used to within your like circle of your society. So can you describe a single group that you have had an empathy wall with and why?
I don't think I have. In my family, we're very open-minded about things, and we're very respectful about other people's cultures. So I grew up that way, but I don't think I have an empathy wall against a different culture from mine.
So like, you don't think like growing up, your family has like said something about a specific group of people that has made you like think a certain way about them, and then once you were confronted, you were proved that like, oh, that's not how they actually act as a whole. Like,
well,
let's say you were born in a border town, right?
Yeah.
So like, you may have an idea of, let's say, like people away from the border town, like they have it better or they have it different.
No, not really. Majority of the way we were brought up, my parents never really showed us privileges, I guess, that other families that were better off than us, that they were better in any way, or they were snobby in any way, or they never showed us that. Now, I did see from my grandparents about the gay community, that it was wrong and things like that, but again, my parents always showed us how to be a little bit more open-minded about it, and that it was okay. It was okay to love whoever you want to love.
I love that answer. So cute. Okay. So another question is, discuss where your wall stems from in your socialization. So, you have already said that like it stems, or I guess if you were to have an empathy wall, it'd be from like your grandparents, but you've instilled in yourself that like you're open to getting to know different people and like forming connections with them, although they had some type of idea of that certain group of people.
Right. So they're very old school, of course. I mean, they always saw that as being wrong. But from our perspective and the way we were brought up, I mean, we just didn't have to. We were just brought up in a household where we were open to understand people for who they are and what culture they come from, and being able to learn from them as well. So it's not just a superiority thing that our culture is better than yours. It's never been that way. But yeah, my grandparents are just old school, so they were brought up that way. But I guess my parents broke that barrier and that empathy, that wall, and taught us to be open-minded about things.
I really like your response and how you provided the example and how you like grown to have this idea of, I guess, matureness in that sense when it comes to LGBTQ. Right, perfect. Alright, the next question is, describe how and why the empathy wall is maintained. So normally in social circles, so like in the social circle I grew up in, we were comprised of individuals who shared like similar backgrounds. I feel like that's what most people like attract to initially. And like, even when I go into a classroom, like, I kind of just like sit by myself, but I know like, I can easily connect to someone who's the same color as me. Like, I'll want to like go up to them just because like I feel like, I don't know, like I'm like we might have more in common, or I'm like too shy to like be in a group setting just because like I was raised with more like Hispanic people, and being in such a like predominantly white campus, like it's really hard to like make connections. But I have stepped out of like my social circle and made connections because I stepped out of being shy and uncomfortable, because I know to make true connections with people in network, like I have to start talking, or at least make an initial response to them. So again, sorry, the question was, describe how and why the empathy wall is maintained.
I think, so to answer that question, I think it's depending on the person. And a lot of the things that happen with people, it's more of a comfort thing. Like the example you gave, you probably feel more comfortable when you step into a room, and then you can definitely see the different groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you find that group where they speak Spanish,
Mm-hmm.
that's your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So that's typically how that would be maintained, because people feel comfortable and can identify themselves with that group.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's more of a comfort thing. For me personally, I can go into a room, and because I love to learn about different cultures, learn about different people, and my wife can attest to this, but I'm a little bit of a social butterfly and can have conversations with just anyone. So that's just my preference.
And what's some advice you would give to someone who's like struggling with like being a social butterfly in that sense, to, I guess, break away from being comfortable in their situation?
Well, I mean, for me personally, it's just being yourself, because you're unique in your own way.
Mm-hmm.
And when you open up a little bit with different social groups, they'll find an interest in you because you're different.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, going back to that comfort zone,
Yeah.
it's very similar. You can identify in that group, but when you identify something different from somebody else, it will catch some people's attention. So just be yourself.
Be yourself. That's the answer. Alright, perfect. Okay, next question. Describe what you're doing to build empathy bridges to overcome your empathy walls. So to build empathy bridges and overcome my own empathy barriers, I plan to like actively seek and engage with individuals in like different backgrounds, and like avoid feeling shy or like stick to my own biases, to essentially just form better connections and shy away from judgmental perception. So is there something you can describe on what you would do to build empathy bridges and overcome those barriers of the empathy wall?
Oh, that's a great question. Again, I think it goes back to being yourself, and not being scared about who you are. A lot of people do tend to judge themselves, and it becomes an issue where maybe you hold back and you're unable to build those bridges. And a lot of times in my line of work, understanding different cultures and being able to network is how I build my bridges from a professional standpoint. And I try to use that also like in my social life, in my personal life. So just being open, not being scared about who you are, and leave yourself out there so that people can find an interest in who you are.
Perfect. And that kind of does answer the next question of like, what do you think is the best way to help others overcome their empathy walls that are like similar to yours? So being open-minded.
Yes, being open-minded, not being scared, being yourself, pretty much kind of sums up everything to answer that question.
Alright, perfect. Thank you so much.
You're
That is all
welcome.
for today.
Appreciate it. Thank you.